Today we are undertaking a new project in Planet Coaster 2, a park that is one of my favorites so far. This park was inspired by a dream that I had, actually, of a place where you could go where you could relax in the gardens and kind of take on the vibe of the place and honestly just soak in the atmosphere of the park, or if you so choose, you can ride the rides and have the fun and all that other stuff. And it's a park a bit like my hometown park of Knoebels Grove where I grew up. And Knoebels is a place in central Pennsylvania where you have a lot of options as far as entertainment. And you can either engage in thrills, or you can engage in musical entertainment, or there's plenty of places to sit and enjoy the birds and enjoy the trees and sometimes even the gardens. And that's the vibe I'm going for in this park. Today we need a basic entrance, and this entrance had to be something that looked old but would be something that the park would have put together itself. And obviously, a lot of plans get made as you're building in Planet Coaster 2. Some that make it and some that don't. And I'll be honest, I'm going to just spoil it for you now. Those other two buildings never see the light of day. And I think the decision that I made in the end about this was worth it. I really do. I think that the end building, the way it sits within the valley, just works. You can see here I'm trying different types of pieces, and I wanted this concrete structure that looked elegant. Now, one thing I will say I regret almost immediately with this was not starting out on the grid. I did do a building grid, but I didn't work within the world's grid, and I'm going to pay for it probably all the way through this build and more than likely the next builds, because the pathways are set to start on a grid at the beginning of the park until they actually go into the park, and that's going to continue to translate into slightly off. You can tell I thought for a long time about how I wanted to present this. I wanted the roof to sit correctly within the structure of the building to seem believable without seeming like it was just slapped on top. One of the problems that I have when I play Planet Coaster, and you can see that offset, can't you? One of the problems I have when I play Planet Coaster 2 is I try to engage in realistic without completely understanding realistic. I was an architecture student. I studied architecture. I wanted to be an architect, but I couldn't tell you the basic parts of a building in a way that I can translate into a Planet Coaster 2 build. So it became kind of an issue early on in this structure where I wasn't sure how to roof this because I knew it needed roofed. And I think you'll agree the color works. I like I said, I wanted to be concrete. But then I came up with this concrete beam that would line both sides and allow the roof to kind of sit on those arches. And I think it works really well. I really do. Adding in the pathway here, I started to get very inspired. I felt it. I felt the vibe. I felt the snag that you get from the build. And then I started to taste my way through all the different pathing options, all the different, general kind of aesthetics that I could achieve. And then I regretted this pathway. And I forgot, momentarily, you could trace your way around and delete anything you want pathing-wise. Now, for quite a bit of time here, I struggled with The why of the edge getting that grass, it doesn't seem to make any sense unless I'm not 100% level in relation to the building. That's probably the case, but I moved on. I'm going to give you really good advice. Something I learned from Moomin Little Socks was use gutters in your builds. It changes everything. It really does. It adds that bit of realism that is necessary for you to get the general aesthetic you need, the general look and feel that you need, and to keep your buildings from looking too basic. And I screwed up a little bit with the gutter here. It doesn't sit perfectly on the building. This edge does. This edge sits fine. And there I got yeeted across the map when I grabbed this gutter downspout. But this is where you really have to think your way through things. These downspouts, end caps, and things like that. I was using 180 scale, which is good for you to remember. There I got yeeted again. And that way you can keep all the pieces scaled. Gutters are finicky in Planet Coaster 2. They're multiple items you have to assemble together to get the right look. And then working kind of sideways and then around, I needed to get these gutters in place on both sides, on both ends, and then I realized it was just slightly offset in a way that one side of the gutter doesn't quite touch, but you don't see it unless you're looking right at it, if I'm being real. And then I played around with this beam. This beam had a whole concept in my head. This beam was about me looking for a way to affix lighting fixtures to an older building made out of concrete arches. Like, what would the park have done to retrofit the building to accommodate lighting? And I'm gonna be honest, I abandoned this concept not long after I placed it down. But it was only because I couldn't get it to work. I really couldn't, unless I added a lot of extra pieces. And I have a whole park to build. I don't want extra pieces. One thing that I really pride myself in doing in Planet Coaster 2 is working with ground paint and other things like that to try to limit the piece count overall. I really like foliage. I think that foliage scaled and rotated and placed is something that can really work well for as far as filling space in. But yeah, that's my little rant about scale and piece count. I struggle with the garden. I always struggle with the garden. The garden is something that, I guess, metaphorically, growth is something that, I want to stay away from, and it's always uncomfortable because with growth comes change, and nobody likes change. But here it was. I hit the stone here, and I realized, oh, I like this change. I like this look. I like this feel, and it works. Here's me kicking in with some of the ground paint. Like I said, I didn't want to put garden boxes down and garden dirt and things like that because, again, piece count. If you don't have to, you don't have to. Because I already knew I wanted to do this with the flowers. The flowers need brought in colored, scaled, rotated, things like that, and randomized. And I kind of this dark red and dark blue repeating pattern for the front entryway. I thought kind of gave a nice subdued look while also being somewhat vibrant. Not too bad. It doesn't look dead. Putting the rocks in, putting the pine trees, the miniature pine trees, the shrubbery in. I didn't want topiary. Topiary is just not something that works within the vibe of this park. And then I began work on the butterfly. The butterfly is the symbol for the park, and I have to admit, right off the bat, I am not the best for advice on how to 3D sculpt within Planet Coaster 2. I struggle with it. I was actually referencing what are called miniature Legos, I guess. They're not Legos. Mini building blocks I got at the Smithsonian Natural History Museum in Washington, D.C. And it was a monarch butterfly, so I was referencing the pattern on it. Just in general, it's very simplified. And then I was looking to give it three-dimensional curves and depth and things like that, and I realized that's just not going to happen. So I just focused on making the butterfly itself, and I think it came out pretty good. I'll defend my butterfly. I think it looks nice. These 3D pieces sometimes are just perfection. You can get those segmented sections for the body. I was going to put the butterfly in the garden, and then I realized it should go on the roof. It should go where the sign goes. And I curved parts of the body a little bit, curved the wings outward a little bit, just to give it a little bit of depth. But I want you to really focus here on how this all looks in general, and then realize how quickly this is about to transform with some very simple tricks. And those are mainly just terrain paint, brushes, probably, I would say the taiga brush and some of the stones, and then a little bit of elevation change. And this whole area is just going to transform. It's crazy. With terrain paint, you need to do it exactly like you would with regular paint. A nice spattering and smearing and kind of randomization to it. You don't look at the ground around you and think, oh, look how the patterns, in reality, you don't look down at the ground and say, oh, the patterns are just straight edges and, this is here and this is there. No, everything kind of bleeds and blends together. And if you want good ground paint in Planet Coaster 2, do it the same way. And then these railings, that was just the icing on the cake for this. And yeah, it just looks fantastic. So here it is, Butterfly Garden. This is my newest project. I'm going back to my roots in Planet Coaster 2. If you want to follow me, hit subscribe. I'm going to post hopefully weekly updates to this project. I got a lot of plans for it. It's going to be great. We're going to decorate some of it for Christmas. It's going to be super awesome. And I really look forward to building all this and putting all this together. It's just the vibe. It's going to be calm and relaxed and nothing crazy. It's just something you can get into that is going to be refreshing. So thanks so much for tuning in. And if you have suggestions for this park, drop them in the comments. I would love to hear them. And I would love to see how this project plays out down the road, because currently I'm caught up where you are, where this park is concerned. So it's going to be interesting how it all plays out.